Hi, I'm Katie Sky, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the island of Scuttle. This is the build that I did last week, where I built Sandy's house. I also built out this fun little pirate ship. I did forget to sail, and I still have not remembered to put it on. And this is Rod's house, and here are Rod and Sandy being so cute. And this is going to be the area that we're working on today. And the build I'm doing today is my house, but I'm doing it as kind of like a treasure trove situation. And the first thing we're going to do is to start with some terraforming, as one does. And to start off, I'm really just looking to make a general shape of the area, which will be completely enclosed. It's going to end up kind of oval-like, and so I just am playing around with the shape a lot and getting the outline, and then I'll fill it in from there. And I did have to mess around with the back area right here quite a bit. I just really wasn't sure what I wanted it to look like behind where the house was going to go. And then I did realize that I had the cliffs too close to where I was going to put the house. So I decided to go ahead and throw the house down so that I would know where I wanted to put the cliffs around the house. And now that the house is down, I can really figure out the shape that I want these back cliffs to have, because they are going to have waterfalls next to the house. And so it needs to have enough space for the waterfalls, but also have enough space to build out the cliff behind it, and for it to not all be the same exact um, depth. So like this one I want a little bit further back, just so that it has a little bit more visual interest. And then I realized I didn't want this left side to be that far forward either. So I just did it one back, so they're technically separated, or there's a difference of one tile on each side. And this is kind of the final result of me building all of that out. It took me a long time, so I didn't include it because I did it off screen. And now we're just adding in the water, which I want all of the water to kind of connect to each other in this area. So that's what I did. So all of the little waterfalls connect to each other. And this is the water that's around this ship. So I wanted to make sure that I'm connecting the water to what's going to be in the little treasure trove. Just honestly because I want to. There's no other reason. I just thought it would be cool. And I was initially thinking I was gonna put a bridge here, but then I thought doing a little like hop spot would be more fun. And I don't know, I really like islands where there are several spots where you can just like hop across, and that's like the pathing. Like that's the path that you go. I don't know, I just think it's kind of fun. So that's what we did. And now we're moving on into that lower section that's near my house, and we are just putting in a ton of water because my house is going to be fully covered in water, or surrounded in water, and there's going to be no way for you to get to this unless you find one specific pipe that will then take you to my house. But you have to go on a hunt for it first. A treasure hunt, if you will. And that's what this idea really is all of the pirates need to put their fortunes and their stolen goods of gold and whatnot somewhere where it's safe. And that's what this is. My house is basically like the pirates' treasury. And this is where they just put all of their hoard of stolen money and coins and gold bars and gold nuggets and all the gold. And so only certain people know where the entrance is to get to this area. And so in order to come visit, you have to find the entrance. That's the whole idea that I had behind this build. I thought it was really fun. And honestly, it does make going in and out of my house kind of a pain, but I think it's worth it just because it's such a cute idea. And I do really like how it came out. And of course, my precious spiky fence needed to make an appearance because you can't get in here. There is no way. Actually, there is technically another way, but I'm eventually going to close that up. I just haven't yet, but because I needed to access, my house. But that's just a secret between you and me, okay? Anyway, the fences just reiterate basically that there's not a way into this. It's kind of fortress esque and it's very protected. And now I'm going to start putting down all of the little treasures. So I definitely knew I needed to do this pirate uh, treasure chest. It's so cute. I did not realize how massive of an item this was. Decorating around it did become a little complicated. And I also wanted to bury some of the little treasures. So I buried some gold bars, some gold nuggets, like gold things all around. And I think even one of the treasure chests I did. And if you find the dropped shovels that will be somewhere on this island, you'll be able to come and dig all of the fun treasures up. You won't be able to keep it because, you're in a dream when you're coming to this island, but it's still a fun little treasure hunt. And I only have a few little bits to put down, and then we'll be done with this area. I'm just throwing down all the little treasures that maybe didn't get packed away into the treasure chest quite right. And I'm also going to display the little gold shovel. Like somebody left it behind from when they were burying the treasure. And I did make this cute little like treasure code, like so that it's like X marks the spot kind of a thing. I don't know. I thought it was cute. I still need to tweak it a little bit, but now we are moving on to the upper area where you're looking down into the treasure trove. And there's going to be a kind of land bridge situation in the very front so that you can look down, like I said. And so I'm just putting down all of the pathing for that before I go ahead with the spiky fence, of course, to kind of be the railings. Although, if you try to grab those railings, you might impale yourself. So, I don't recommend it. Be wary of that fence. And I know I've said this in previous videos, but I am going to use this fence to death. Like, I'm going to use it every chance that I have because I'm obsessed with it on this island, as well as the tiki torches, which we, of course, have to make sure we have plenty down. And then I'm going to put in this bamboo tree and a little wheat field so that it kind of starts to get the like full like jungle vibe. And on this side, we're going to get a little coconut tree, but I want to decorate around where the tree is going to be first, just so that it's not irritating to do it when the tree is already in there. And then we're going to move on to laying down the little tiny planks that I made. I don't know why it took me so long to make these planks because I literally use these types of planks on every single island that I do. So I'm not really sure why I hadn't had them at that point, but it's all good. We have them now, and they were perfect for this little area. And like I had mentioned earlier, I'm just leading this path directly to the little water, and then it's going to lead over so you know that you need to do a little hop hop, and then you'll be at the other side. I don't know why the hop hop little spots are so cute, but they are, so I had to do at least one on this island. And now we can put that coconut tree in and just pop in a couple of other natural bits on both sides, honestly. And I did keep going back and forth between places because A, I have ADHD and get distracted very easily. And B, it's just honestly at this point, it's just how I decorate. And honestly, I did struggle a bit with figuring out what I wanted to do on the left and right side of of this treasure trove area. I kind of knew what I wanted to do on the left side because I had the little hop hop spot and I knew I wanted to do that. But the right hand side, I was like, I have no idea. Like, I kept coming over here and thinking like, oh, I'll just start decorating and it'll come to me, and it did not come to me. It took me a long time to figure out what I actually wanted to do. But I did the first little section and then I just ran out of inspiration for this side, and so I went to do the other side, to be completely honest. But that if you're ever stuck, that's what I like to do is if you get stuck on one part of the build, just move to a different part. You don't have to fully finish one area to work on the next area, in my opinion. And sometimes it helps that you move and start doing something else, because then it can help like make you think of another way to do what you're struggling with because you're doing something different. At least that's how my brain works. And now we are just trying to get the spacing right to add tiki torch, because I'm also adding those literally everywhere on this island. And then we're moving on to the other side and putting in some trees before we go ahead and start adding some wheat field in. I love my wheat fields. And then here I'm trying to add in one of the little pond stones, and it was being kind of a pain to go in. And is I'm this is honestly just like a filler area at this point. I'm just adding lots of natural things, trees, bushes, flowers, wheat field, and then a few little items here and there before we move back over to the right side and add some more natural bits in over there. Trees, wheat field, flowers, and then I did the bamboo noodle slide because honestly, I love that item and the name is really fun. And now I'm going to do a third level of terraforming so that I can do double waterfalls. And initially, I was only going to do double waterfalls on the back, so behind my house. But then I decided that with all of these straight flat areas that I had on the sides, that would make a really good area for some interesting double waterfalls, even though you can't really see them really well unless you tilt your camera a specific way. I know that they're there and you can still kind of see them, so that's what we did. And I just jumped up here to put the waterfall in this first section just to make sure that I was going to like it before I moved on and did like the big terraforming, because it was a lot of terraforming to do around the entire cove, treasure cove, and to connect all of the water. It wasn't the hardest thing that I've done with waterscaping, but waterscaping is not my favorite thing to do. It can be very temperamental. So you have to have a lot of patience, and I'm not that patient of a person. So I do struggle sometimes with the terraforming and especially the waterscaping for this game, but we got there in the end. It might have taken me 2 days to do this build, but we did get there in the end. So we're just putting up the terraforming, and then I'm deciding what I want to do over here. I think I'm gonna put a incline down. So I just have to figure out what I want to do with the terraforming, how far I want to bring it, or how close I want to get it to that area where the incline is gonna be, and make sure that I'm gonna be able to get all of my pathing in for the little planks. And I don't actually end up taking it very far to the left. I decide that I'm just gonna make it look a little bit natural, so I have some little bump outs, and then I just kind of decorate with my usual things for this island. Some pirate barrels, some wheat field, trees, flowers, bushes, the usual suspects. I have definitely noticed that I do tend to use the same items over and over. on every island, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is my mantra in life. If it's working for me and there's no problems with it, why do I need to change it, you know? Anyway, after this build, I don't have a solid idea of what I'm gonna do next on this island, because I had the island pretty planned out up to this point, and I do have like a vague idea of the builds I want to do for the rest of the island, but I don't know where on the island each of those builds is gonna go. So I really have to sit down and figure out where the rest of the builds are gonna go, because it's kind of important so that I can, build out the rest of the island. But we are really making some good progress on this island, and it definitely doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I can't do a small build to save my life. It definitely has nothing to do with that, and it's just, we're just flying through it. And right here, I did like a little dirt path that the planks led to, and then the dirt path leads to where the incline will be. I don't actually place the incline down in this video, mostly just because I forgot. But I didn't think that just planks going all the way to where the incline is was gonna look right. So that's why I did that. And it breaks up some of the sameness that the planks had for that little area. And I have no idea if anything that just came out of my mouth even makes sense to anyone but me, but that's what that that's where we're at. And I'm just adding the last little bits over here before we move on to the actual cliffs. So because this is also a jungle core island, I need it to look really full and lush, which is why I'm doing so much extra filler, even in areas you might not necessarily be able to see, just because if you can get a peek of it, I want it to look lush. So that's really why I went kind of overboard with all of these fillers. And now we need to add the last little bits in for this area where the incline is going to go in, which is just adding some tiki torches, doing a little bench so that people can sit down, and adding like some wheat field in, and like a couple like flowers and bushes. And of course, the bush gave me issues, so I had to pick up the bench and then put it back down once I put the bush down. But, this is where we are ending this area. I might tweak a couple of things later down the line when I do the incline and like the below area. But for right now, we're just going to move on to some of the cliffs. And that's honestly, all of the cliffs are just filler areas. So it's going to be a lot of trees, bushes, flowers, wheat field, some giant vines, things of that nature. And I feel like I've said trees, bushes, and flowers and wheat fields so many times in this video. And please ignore that balloon. I will not be shooting that down. I'm so sorry if that annoys you when you see people not shooting down their balloons, but I did not have a slingshot on me at this time and I didn't want to. I don't love shooting down the balloons when I'm decorating unless I want the balloons in the actual build, which I have done before on an island for my Love Core island. That I don't even know if that island is done, but I did it. It's like all pink and white, and it's really cute. But I shot down all of the balloons to go on like the paths, just because I think that's really cute, and it worked for that theme. Anyway, now that I've gone off on a rant for another island, we're now just doing this little island area that you can't even see because my house blocks it. But we're, again, just doing filler. I feel like a lot of this build is filler. Honestly, a lot of this island is filler build because it is a jungle core island, so you need to have a lot of filler areas so that it feels very jungly and very lush. So I don't love doing the same type of filler, but it kind of works on this island. And now we're just moving on to the other areas now that the left hand side is kind of complete. So we're doing the right, and that one it's more filler area. But I am adding in the water and all of the like waterfalls on this back area and trying to figure out how I want it to look. I mean, ultimately, no one will be able to really see how it looks up here because you can't access this area. Like, it's completely inaccessible, or it will be. And so I'm really just doing this because I want to, and that I will know that it's not decorated if I don't decorate it. Well, that's not fully true. There are certain areas that you'll be able to see this for because you'll be able to see like behind the waterfalls a little bit from the different viewpoints, but I mean it's only like a tiny glimpse of it, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. But I know it's there, and that's honestly the main reason that I'm doing this back area. And I know I joke a lot about how all of my builds end up so massive, and they do to a certain degree, but how I go about my builds is I have the idea and then I kind of decide what area it's going to go in, and then I kind of measure the area so I know like the build's only going to go to a certain spot and then it's going to stop so that I can do the next build, but that doesn't always work out how I want it to, and so they end up a little bit bigger than I initially anticipate, which is why I say my builds are always out of control. But most of the builds that I wanted to do on this island are actually really big builds, like the ship build and the little treasure trove, and even like the shopping district was really big, but it just works for this particular island. There are other islands that I've made and that I will make that will have more small areas, but for the most part, I do like to do big builds, and I definitely lean towards bigger builds. I'm not really sure why that is. It's kind of my process, I guess, at this point, but now I'm moving on to this top area to start adding in the waterfalls. And there's not a lot of space up here, so I am adding the waterfalls first so that I can see kind of the area that I'm working with to see if I need to make the cliffs wider. And I did go ahead and quickly pull out my camera so I could see what the angled view was, and then I can figure out where I want to put the second level waterfalls based off of that, and then just continue on with filler area. But there wasn't too much that I really did over here, just some natural bits and like a pirate barrel with I think a candle, oh, the bamboo sphere on top of it, because I didn't want it to detract from the house build, which in this video, I do not personalize or customize, I should say, my house. And I will eventually do that, but I just don't know what I want it to look like right now. And I forgot. I actually forgot to look into that and try and do that, but I'll do that at a later point in this series. So you can look out for that in the future, I guess. And now we've just jumped up to the third level tier of terraforming to add some decorations up there. Again, I'm not going to do a lot. Number one, I was really tired at this point. This build had taken me 2 days to complete, and I knew you weren't going to be able to see a lot of this, and I don't know how much on this right side is going to change because we have like the rest of the island that I need to decorate, and so the cliffs might change, which is also why they're just like a straight line right now, because I know they're probably going to change a lot. And I really don't like doing work to just have to tear it down, especially in Animal Crossing. It kind of annoys me when I do that. So I did decorate some of it so that it didn't feel like incomplete for this build, and I'll probably keep all of that. But if I had gone any further, I wouldn't know if I was gonna be decorating into the spot that I needed for the next build. And now we're just gonna put a little pirate barrel down. Actually, we're gonna put a couple down just to fill this kind of awkward 2 tile wide area. There's not much that I had that would really work for that. And we are done. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was certainly an interesting one for me. I do really love how it came out. It's so cute with the little land bridge. And I would love to know what your favorite part of this build is. And let me know if you have any ideas for future builds you'd like to see. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!